Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when are we ready to start? Nishingananda, are we ready? Are we rolling? Okay. So welcome everyone to this brief presentation of how to explain the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium to the educated public who are going to think that this is just some Hindu mythology. In other words, this, what you see here on the screen, has to be explained in such a way that people say, wow, that's far out. If we do it right, they will be very impressed. We will make a strong statement in the world. If we do it wrong, we're going to look foolish. Very foolish. So it's very important that we're able to explain what you see here. Because no one in any educational system, if they look at that, they can't understand it at all. Are we all on the same page on that? Okay, now how did I get into this project? It all happened when I came across this letter from Srila Prabhupada to Rameshwar on April 2nd, 1977. That's when the letter was written. I came across this in 2011. My dear Rameshwar, please accept my blessings. Now we are forming a scientists' party, and we shall try, with their help, to establish Krishna consciousness as the genuine scientific movement of the world, exposing the so-called scientists as nothing but speculators. In other words, Prabhupada wants us to expose and to smash these atheistic presentations of the cosmos, of creation, of evolution, all these things. Now he continues in the next paragraph. Swarup Damodar has received very good response here in India from the scientific community, and there is good hope that many others will join him. He is returning to America for preparing some publications. That first publication was Life Comes from Life. So this was already beginning to smash the materialistic conception that life came from matter. So that first book, Life Came from Life, Life Comes from Life, Prabhupada gave him that idea. So he is returning to America for preparing some publications, and when these are completed, I have asked him to tour vigorously throughout the world, lecturing with his other colleagues at all major institutions and universities. He has drawn up a budget of immediate needs, a copy of which is enclosed, and I immediately sanction this amount. So in this next paragraph, Prabhupada explains the amount he's prepared to spend. Whatever expenditure he requires, supply him immediately from the BBT. I am prepared to give $10,000 or more monthly, if required, to finance this most important preaching program. When I first read that, in 1977, Prabhupada was prepared to spend $10,000 a month, that's $120,000 a year, for this science preaching. Translated in today's dollars, that's a huge amount of money. And I thought, wow, Prabhupada really wants this done. This is serious. Now, how serious is it? He says in the next paragraph, you can save this money by minimizing the expenditure in the luxury departments of Sanskrit and artists. So the Sanskrit department and the artist department were the luxury departments, and they were going to be sacrificed for the scientific preaching. We do not want these departments for the time being. He's going to, forget Sanskrit and art department for the time being. As he said earlier, his most important project now is the science preaching. 1 or 2 men must suffice for Sanskrit work, and there's no need of new paintings. Whatever paintings we have, that is enough. There's no need of constantly making new variations on the same themes. So for the art department, no more expenditure. If they want to continue painting, let them come and live here in Bombay or in any of our other temples in India. We have got sufficient facilities now for accommodation, and this way we can save so much money. So I read that letter, and I was thinking, Prabhupada really now is focusing his whole energy on the science program to expose what he called so-called scientists as nothing but mental speculators. So I read that and I was like, wow. Then I was on my way to London for a preaching program. So at the London Soho Street Temple, they gave me the room where generally the sannyasis stay, the visiting guests. And in that room, there was a table with a small little library of books. So being curious, I started looking at the titles, and one title leaped out at me. It was called The Goldilocks Enigma. The Goldilocks Enigma. I thought, what in the world is this? So I pulled it out. Written by Dr. Paul Davies, one of the top physicists in England. And as I browsed through the book, it was about the discovery that all of the laws of nature are so finely tuned that if they were adjusted in the most finite way, then life as we know it would never have arisen. So it looks as if our universe has been designed for life. It looks that way at face value. And so he wrote a whole book about this. And so now we're going to discuss how the scientists try to come up with another idea. Oh, by the way, this is called the anthropic principle, that it appears that all the laws of nature in the entire universe are exactly in the constants are exactly in the right proportions to allow life to exist. So that's how I got started. So when I saw that book, I got that book, and I started reading it. And it reminded me of when I saw the Cosmos series with Dr. Carl Sagan in the 1980s. This is what Dr. Carl Sagan, in one segment, he goes to India. And the camera cuts to shots of agrarian India. And he says, cosmology brings us face to face with the deepest mysteries, with questions that were once treated only in religion and myth. And then he refers to the Rig Veda. And he says, the most sophisticated ancient cosmological ideas came from Asia, and particularly from India. Amidst the routine of daily life, the harvesting and winnowing of grain, people all over the world have wondered, where did the universe come from? Asking this question is a hallmark of our species. There is a natural tendency to understand the origin of the cosmos in familiar biological terms. So understanding the origin of the cosmos in familiar biological terms means that higher dimensional reality is explained in terms of the three-dimensional reality which we have experience of. Just to give you an example, supposing you were able to go back 10,000, well, let's say 5,000 years in time to Hastinapur, and you drive a Mercedes SUV, and you want to explain to the chariot drivers, hey, you got a nice chariot there. Yeah, I got an SUV. Well, what's that? Well, it's a kind of car. Well, what's that? Well, it's a chariot. Oh, okay. Well, how fast does it go? It really goes fast. Well, I got my chariot's really fast. I got 4 of the fastest horses, 4 horsepower. You say, well, my SUV has 250 horsepower. And he says, well, 200? How can you get 250 horses in front of a chariot? So we're trying to explain in the familiar biological terms to people in something that they have no experience, okay? So this is what the Bhagavatam is trying to do, trying to explain to us in three-dimensional time and space what is the situation of the universe in higher dimensional space, of which we have no conception of. And then Sagan says, the Big Bang is our modern scientific creation myth. It comes from the same human need to solve the cosmological riddle. Most cultures imagined the world to be only a few hundred human generations. Hardly anyone guessed that the cosmos might be far older, but the ancient Hindus did. And then he said something that I remembered way back in 1980. It always stuck with me. And this is what he said, that Hinduism is the only religion in which the time scales correspond, no doubt by accident, to those of modern scientific cosmology. So the time scales of the Vedas corresponds to modern scientific cosmology, no doubt by accident, he says. So my comment now on this is, excuse me, no doubt by accident? What kind of scientific conclusion is that? The phrase no doubt must mean no doubt in Sagan's mind, but it can't mean no doubt in other people's minds unless he